morning, ladies and gentlemen. A warm welcome to Vienna. And why on earth are all these public sectors people standing here? Yesterday, you saw colleagues from the finance ministry. Always good to have the finance ministry on board, so no questions there. But what on earth am I doing here, the ministry with a very long name? You know, shouldn't we be dealing with the energy crisis, with melting glaciers, with food waste, with reducing empty truck kilometers driven? That should be our business, right? But yes, of course, I'm Director of Innovation and Technology, and we do know that data sharing, that data infrastructures, that an initiative like Gaia-X can be a hugely important enabler, helping us to achieve the very important climate, environmental, and indeed economic goals we do have as a society. So there's really good reason for the public sector being involved in the way we are. Mentioning melting glaciers, there's of course also in all the debates we have an element of fear, right? There's also an element of, will we be overtaken by anonymous decision-making algorithms we can't really control anymore? I think that's also a very prominent discussion we're currently witnessing with all the ChatGPT debates, not new in your circles, but I learned yesterday, we got the first parliamentary request as a ministry written with ChatGPT. Well, we do know that data economy is part of the solution, though do let me add, from a public sector perspective, it's not data economy as an abstract buzzword, but it is really always related to concrete use cases. We also know, and this is why I guess Tobias, and I probably think all of the speakers before me has spoken so much about collaboration, that the benefits we can harvest from an initiative like this can only be harvested when data are kind of saved and released from their silos. And there you do have a real conflict, right? Because, we always talk about data as being a real treasure. So obviously there's a big incentive for some companies to sit on that data and, rather reap the profits you can reap when sitting on the data. Other companies may want to share data but don't know how. And yet a third company might want to share data in a supply chain but lacks the trust. Also an important element that Tobias already hinted on to do so. And at the same time we know, and this is why we all came together here today, that keeping data in silos will not help to solve the challenges we have. So we know we have to use data, we have to connect data across domains, we have to act with data, which always sounds a bit abstract, but in the end it's about solving problems, it's about increasing efficiency, it's about saving energy, and having trust in systems, and that's nothing abstract really. Of course, all of you here know the benefit of sharing data. So, of course, we expect that the early adopters will really be the innovators, which also gain from that recognition. We also believe, and this is again why someone from the climate ministry is standing here, is that a circular and climate-friendly era really relies on something we call, in general terms, a data economy. Someone who's hailing from mobility actually knows that there's been this dream of, having one click and traveling from, Vienna to Stockholm, Vienna to London, and getting your travel route. Still not possible, and I remember we had this debate 15, 20 years ago. But we know that there's real benefits, like the possibility to reduce food waste by 10% by 2030. Logistics processes, also a very, very prominent example from the mobility space, could be organized in a much more efficient way And something like a data model for a digital product passport could really, really help us to follow the supply chains, to follow the materials, and in the end, to reduce waste and make sure that a circular economy. Austria is, I think the circular use rate is at 9% or something. We really have a long way to go. That something like a circular economy is actually enabled. For this, we need all the things you're talking about. So thank you very much for doing so. And of course, we come together because somehow this idea of a data economy seems to gain momentum. Though, again, let me add, and I said that again, and I think I will say so again, it's more than a buzzword, and especially from a public sector perspective, we really focus, and our national Gaia-X hub people know this, we really focus on use cases, and we want you to focus on use cases, which in our view, as the public sector, as a ministry, are not only business use cases. Of course, public sector is shaping markets, but all the things you talk about for us are also important to achieve some societal goals, the ones I talked about earlier. And this is why, of course, we try to provide very targeted support to initiatives like these. We've been supporting projects, building infrastructures, building communities for years and years and years. The people who've been working on this for years are sitting here. Some initiatives like the Green Data Hub, and of course initiatives like Gaia-X, lighthouse projects, and the bilateral calls, research and innovation calls we do with Germany, resulting in important projects and initiatives like EU Pro Giant, or the one I always have trouble pronouncing, it's Temp.io Forums. It's about energy, I know that, so it's important for us. So, as a climate ministry, we know that data sharing plays a critical role in helping organizations and societies to achieve a more sustainable future. I very often, and in all sorts of settings, say, in the end, in the 21st century, it's about radical transparency and radical collaboration, which of course from a business perspective is not so easy to implement, is it? But I'm really convinced that otherwise we will not be able to achieve any objectives. And as Tobias already said, about the 11 people working in Austria to establish this Gaia-X hub, putting in hours and hours and hours, this is not so much about the technicalities and any kind of algorithms or infrastructures you can think of. It's more about people getting together. So, which is why I said hello to the ladies, because you might realize that there's two ladies director generals making this possible at least a little bit. And I do have a theory that this is so much about relationships that this is also a bit more about female leadership. So what does the future bring? Of course, all of us are here because we want to facilitate more collaborations among stakeholders, promote and fund cross-sectoral partnership, and the word sector is really important, and cross-sector is also really important. What is so important for us, especially as a small country like Austria, is that we want to foster international, European and international collaborations. And I think if you'd ask me what is new about this, because honestly, I can tell you I've been sitting on conferences, so-and-so by design, trust by design, security by design, something by design, and Roland is already laughing. We've been discussing this for years and years and years. I think what's new now, and Max already mentioned this in his intervention, is the sovereignty aspect. I think that's new. And I think as a public sector, we have to go beyond the buzzword of saying technological sovereignty. I think we also have to be a bit more clear on what this actually means. And Gaia-X is one very, very important attempt, an initiative to make sure that we are not being overtaken left, right, and center as Europe, which is important. So, of course, we also, with our initiatives, want to contribute to a common European data space. We want to remove obstacles. I said the public sector is also a market shaper. And of course, as the Innovation Director General, we also want to provide targeted research, technology, and innovation support. The key challenges we see now is really broadening the user base. I saw some of your LinkedIn comments yesterday, and there's some debate. Some still saying, "Well, this is all very meta. What does this actually mean for me?" So, I think it's important to broaden the user base, and I'm very happy that in Austria, a lot of stakeholders really put in a lot of effort to especially involve small, medium-sized companies, which are really the core of all of our economies. It's 99% of companies in Austria which are SMEs. So it's important to involve these. We, of course, always work on new funding opportunities and really try and foster the spirit of collaboration also among the ministries. Skills, I don't even need to talk about this. I think we could all, in the coffee break, talk about all the issues we all have and finding the right people, educating the right people, and making this an exciting topic to work on. I think it's not only companies anymore saying that this is a problem, it's also the public sector. We're also really looking for people. It's also one of the big challenges. And lastly, again, if we are technically able and willing to exchange data in a trustworthy manner, then it will be possible to bring out the data from the silos. However, again, and I will really want to end on this, and I think it's important to stress this a couple of times, as a public sector, we are not only interested in simply sharing data as a general goal, we really want to support concrete use cases. So, and for that, it's really important, and I know that it can be a bit confusing because all these different initiatives pop up. It's also confusing for us, right? We look at the European level and we see the different director generals, and there's an initiative here, an initiative there. But I think one of the key things, and we have a lot of discussions on this, is bringing the skills you guys have in, the data world, let me put it in this general way, bringing these skills and initiatives together with sectoral needs, because data sharing is not just for data sharing, it's supposed to achieve something. That's really important, and this is why I also see Nina nodding. We really try and foster a lot of different initiatives which really bring these two things together, which really say, okay, we want to act more domain specific. We want to drive the energy transition. We want to drive the circular transition. We want to drive the mobility transition. So in that sense, the data sharing ecosystem is not only tailored for the private sector. The public sector needs to be fully included, especially concerning sectorial policy needs within the different data spaces and domains. And for public authorities, use cases are often not about making business, It's not our job to make business. It's our job to support societal goals. And I think this is something you as a Gaia-X community should really keep in mind, because this whole collaboration thing is important also between the public and the private sector, and it's important that you recognize and we recognize your needs, but you also recognize our needs and our task. Our task is a different one. Our task is not making business. And that's, I think, is a key challenge. It's about trust, and I'm really happy, and I do congratulate our Austrian Gaia-X community and hub and all the different players who are involved for setting up this event in 90 days, for working together in the way we did. I think we also had a lot of experience about how this trust thing between people is really important. It's not technical, it's about people. I congratulate you, and looking forward to fruitful exchanges and wishing you a lovely second day, and looking forward to trying out your grandmother's apple strudel recipe, Brigitte.